the physicalness of it. I think these guys have done a really good job in the fourth quarter program of conditioning their bodies. I think they've got the right mindsets when they come out. But 3 really good days in a row of putting the pads on and getting the physicality, getting the effort that we've been looking for. That's been really good. We got to combine that now with the fundamental discipline, which takes time. I think that probably shows up more because of the way we practice with how many guys are getting reps. So some of the guys are younger guys, experience-wise, way down the line and getting reps, and the fundamental things show up. It's been some really good back and forth between the offense, defense make a play, offense make a play. So it's been good. It's been good. We got to continue to hound on the fundamental piece, which I think a lot of teams in college football would say the same thing. So I'm really pleased with the energy and effort, the physicality. We got some really physical, fast, athletic bodies. Now we got to be able to hone that into the discipline needed to execute consistently. So with that, open up questions.
I know you said before there may be some, depending on where players came from, there may be some bad habits, so to speak, that may be broken. Are you starting to see some of those, any of those come up?
I'm not sure if they're bad habits. I just think probably a little bit more of the techniques that we're asking them to do consistently. It's always going to be, I'm always going to say we need to work on the fundamental piece because they're going against good players. So even when you think you step right and the other guy steps right, if you're 6 inches off, that shows up. Even when you think you've aligned right or gotten to the right area, but the other guy adjusts, so that shows up. So we just got to keep repping it. And I think, again, part of that is, like you said, they've come from other places where maybe the terminology or the technique's slightly different. And we've got to get them in a rhythm here, because what may happen is there may be a technique you're supposed to play on a outside zone. Well, you may go 6 plays and not see an outside zone. And then on the 7th play, you see it. It's like, oh, man, I got to shoot my hands here. There may be a footwork that we're telling them that you got to use on, a D-line twist. Well, you could, depending on how the rack's called, you may not see that twist until later. So we've got to get more reps so they start seeing the things more and more and more. If we just went out and played base football, the same coverage, the same front, the same offensive play over and over and over, I would probably say we're really consistent. But as we add the installs and we add the different formations and coverages and adjustments, well, those techniques, change with each one. So that's part of it. I think we've done a really good job. We're not having a bunch of mental assignment issues, which is good. That means the kids are putting time in. That means the coaches have done a good job of installing at the right pace. But we've got to be able to technique-wise, that thing's got to show up right when I need it, and that takes time. But I think it's a little bit of, where we're at from a rep standpoint, as far as where we are in practice. We've just got to see it more and more and more. When we get probably to the end of this week, we'll be at the end of install, which now we're starting to repeat. So now we should start to see some progression in those fundamentals, if that makes sense.
What do you see from the receiver groups?
They showed up the last few days. We've been able to get some balls up in the air, and they've been able to go make some plays. They've got speed. That's one thing that they do have. I think what you're starting to see is, who can play in space and who can play outside. That's starting to declare a little bit. We're starting to get some consistency or carryover in the installs. It may be a different formation or a different motion, but the route's the same, and you're starting to see some guys who understand that. Catching the ball has been solid, not great. In my opinion, you should be able to go on air and not put one on the ground. We're probably in the 85, 90%. And, most people say, oh, that's good. Well, not on air, so there are some things there. And then you got to combine, now that we got pads on, one play you may be blocking on the perimeter. Next play you may have to run a play or run a route, block on the perimeter, run a route. So you got to be able to switch those fundamentals and techniques. But I think we've got a good group of guys who will be able to go make some plays. We're trying to figure out now, who's going to be the most consistent outside, who's going to be the most consistent inside, with what we're asking them to do. They all can run the routes inside or outside, but as the coverage change, who's able to mentally flip and know what they're supposed to do on what route or what window they're falling into. So it's been good. I think as this thing starts to slow down a little bit install-wise and they start repeating a lot of the same routes and spacing, I think some guys will kind of elevate themselves to the top consistency-wise, which will allow us to kind of see, okay, who are the guys we can lean on the most as far as consistently executing.
With them and with everyone else, basically, after a week, do you start to see guys separate themselves, or is it too early?
There's a good group of guys that we feel like, okay, this guy is going to be in the group that we can invest more time in. There are some guys that are just physically young. You know, we've got some guys, some of our freshmen are here, from the class that came in early enrollees. You can tell they're young, you know what I mean? So physically, strength-wise, speed-wise, mental adaptation-wise, they know what to do in the meeting, but when it happens out there at full speed, it's taking them a little while. But we've got a good group of guys right now that we feel like we can go play some winning football. As coaches, we just got to decide who is the most consistent, right? Because there's going to be flashes from a lot of guys. I think a lot of guys have some true athletic ability. What we've got to be able to see is who are going to be consistently disciplined within the scheme. If we just said, hey, go cover this guy, go run upfield, go block this guy, there's a lot of guys, but who can consistently take the right steps, eyes at the right thing, when the picture changes, who can communicate. Those are the things that will determine, ones, twos, threes. But right now we got a group of guys at all positions that we feel good about. I think the D-line is really deep. There's a lot of guys in the D-line. Obviously, the Jamon Tapps and the Kinslers and those guys have played a lot of football. But McKinney, the Burtons, Manette's doing some good things. Gatling's doing some good things. Joe Head on the edge is doing some good things. In the secondary, we got a lot of guys that can play multiple positions. The Ian Fosters and the Amir Fosters, they're guys that have played a lot of football. But, Chauncey Logan, Ellis is doing some good things at the corner position. Richard obviously has played a lot of football. Malcolm is doing a really good job. At the linebacker position, we're moving a bunch of guys now to kind of see who can play Will, who can play Mike. Wolf Walker's done some good things. Nash has showed up in some run fits. Obviously, Mike Montgomery's played a lot of football. Offensively, the skill group, Timmons has made some really big plays down the field. JD runs really well. Doc, has played a lot of football, so we kind of expect from him. Jermaine has done some good things. Alante Brown can run really fast. The tight ends, we got about 3 or 4 that have done a really good job. Quarterbacks, I know it sounds cliche, but all 3 of them will have a moment where you're like, wow, big time throw, big time read. And then they'll turn around and have a play. You're like, were you here yesterday? But so it's been good. The running backs continue to show up. Carter, Covey, Hayden, even the young kid, Jordan, has done some really good things as well. So we're doing a lot right now to move guys around and kind of we have a philosophy just from a measurement standpoint. We want to try and get guys to be 70 to 80% successful in practice and then 10 to 15% of failure rate. Right, so we want to balance it, right? We want to expose them enough or put them in situations where they do fail because that allows for growth. But we don't want them failing too much because then they won't try to improve. But if we can get them in the 70, 80% success rate with where we're playing them, who we're playing them beside so they can communicate situationally, first down, second down, third down, red area, that gives them the confidence that, hey, I can do this. But then that 10 or 15% where they need to improve gives them that ability to say, I still need to work. So trying to find that balance in reps and in rotation is what we're trying to do now.
When you got guys who, you said, play multiple positions, at what point in the schedule do you feel like you want to be like, okay, this is where we want him?
We probably won't do that until after spring. We'll probably go through spring exposing them because that's the way you create that 10 to 15% failure rate, right? As soon as you get comfortable at right guard, we're going to move you to left. just to see what we can do. Obviously, when we go into camp, we'll be a lot more in seats. We want to expose them as much as we can this spring, so that when we do our summer evaluation of, okay, where are we at, we know depth-wise what we have. Hey, the right guard may be the best, left guard too. So if something happens, we may have to move a guy. Or we have a guy who can play both, outside receiver, inside receiver. Or this guy's really consistent at corner, but, at nickel, he's not as consistent. So we'll probably continue to expose them to multiple positions. And when I say position, we're not taking the left guard and putting them at wide out. But within their rooms, we'll keep exposing them, because the injury bug's going to hit, at some point. It's just a matter of time and when. But the depth that we create in the spring with position flexibility will give us some answers in the fall, if that makes sense. Appreciate you guys, man. Go Tigers, go.